the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
How goes it?
If you've got a tip for Melissa, a fact that could break open a case, someone that struck you as odd, someone odd that struck you, tell us about it, for God's sakes, by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host. She's way too excited about her brand new serial killer pillowcase, Melissa Morgan.
Ding, 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 more cowbell. Oh, producer Mark.
Yes?
I'm going to be something odd that strikes you.
You already are.
Yeah. This is the third time we've redone the intro.
Oh, no,
because
that's behind the scene. That's just behind the scenes stuff. You're not supposed to tell them that.
Okay, except for when your elbow slides on one of the sliders and it's like,
yeah, we played.
And the music goes real loud.
The music all of a sudden went really loud.
Yeah.
Before I was supposed to fade it down. But,
I almost fired you, but this time, the third time was the charm.
hey, you can't fire me. I quit.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. No. I would never quit.
You can anytime, and I would not blame you if you did. It's not as bad as I'm hoping. Working with me is not as bad as the person I worked with.
Oh, no.
I haven't.
And by the way, you should watch yourself. We don't want to get sued.
No. But I'm going to guess you haven't stopped having your period and broken out in hives.
Well, here and there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So, I can't believe it's February. I keep seeing a meme going around social media that's like January of 2019 is whatever gone, and February is going to be my new starting point. And I think that's where I'm going to be. January of 2019 was rough, and I couldn't be happier to have it in the rearview mirror. And
you and me both.
yes, I understand that we have both gone through some things together and separately that have been unpleasant. And it's just those things that it's just life things that happen, but they are uncomfortable and awkward and painful and aggravating and annoying and awful sometimes. So we've made it through January, and we'll make it through February, which is going to be a much more beautiful month. We have your beautiful niece's wedding to look forward to, and some time in our favorite place that's just south of heaven, Laguna Beach. So we have some things coming up that are going to be really good for us.
Yes, we're looking forward to that.
And speaking of really good things, Tipster Charlotte is one of those really good things. She's a little angel from heaven, and she sent our Facebook page a message with something that you can procure from your local Trader Joe's, which is called their garlic spread, which she said was similar to, not exactly like, but similar to what the delicious elixir that's found at Zanku Chicken. Now, I have not made it to Trader Joe's this week, which I told her I was going, because she's so sweet. She sent pictures of the label and then a picture of the back with the ingredients. It's like, I mean, she should be perhaps in law enforcement or a private investigator, because she's so inclusive. Like she knows all of the information to send.
She is detail oriented.
She's
man.
something else. Tipster Charlotte is something else. And she said that she even hijacked her husband. This is my favorite part of her email. Hijacked her husband into taking her to the closest Zanku Chicken near her. And her husband loudly proclaimed in the restaurant, "This garlic sauce is to die for."
Oh.
So I am madly in love.
Didn't do that.
Madly in love with Tipster Charlotte and her husband.
Yeah, they're
Yes, he
they're
did.
true, just the Tip-Sters fans for sure.
They're just stellar human beings and little angels walking on earth. I love them both tremendously. I've never met them, but I know that I love them both. So I'm looking forward to when I finally get my shit together, Charlotte. It's been a bad week, girl. It's been a real bad week. But I will get to my Trader Joe's and I will get some garlic sauce spread and see. She said it's not exactly like Zanku, but it is, she said, to keep it for emergencies, which I love because it's like she's in my head. She knows I have occasional Zanku garlic sauce emergencies.
She has separation anxiety from the
oh my God, that's such a
garlic
great,
paste.
yes, that's it. If I don't have it for a while, I do start to kind of get twitchy and uncomfortable. Yeah. So before I forget, we here at Just the Tip-Sters would be very grateful if you took some time to rate, review, subscribe to this podcast. If you like the podcast, it's a 5-star review and it's called Just the Tip-Sters. And if you don't like it, you can put any kind of stars you want and it's called I Hate Everything.
Okay.
And
Remember that, folks.
I hate everything. And we also have a contest coming up. We have this amazing coloring book. It's the adult serial killers big kids coloring book. And it's illustrated by Kay Schroeder. And I love it. It's 37 single-sided pages. And they are amazing drawings that you can color. And coloring is so therapeutic. And especially when you're, coloring in like Ted Bundy's unibrow or Jeffrey Dahmer's dead eyes.
You love that, don't you?
I do. It's, there's the unknown Zodiac killer. It's just a picture of a guy with the glasses and the hair from the 60s. It's kind of amazing. So if you go to our Facebook page, Just the Tip-Sters, and say, I would like a coloring book, we will put names in a little hopper and we'll draw them out, I guess the week of the 19th, and we'll send it to you the week of the 26th. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
We'll announce it
Announce the winner. Yeah.
on the podcast that drops on the 26th.
And I have to say, I have this book. It was given to me by Tipster Bonnie for my birthday, and I love this book. I mean, I can't imagine anything more fun than filling out the in whatever color you want, the furry chest of David Berkowitz, whose picture, his drawing is collar's open and he has a cross, and you can make his chest hair fuchsia if you have some really cool pencils.
And so Bonnie gave that to you, and then we came into possession of a second one, right? That we're going to give away.
Yes,
right?
Yes. The second one is the so then we'll be twins. Whoever wins this will be twins, and we can call each other and color together.
Oh, that's cute. So just you go to the Facebook page and you say, I want the coloring book.
Yep. That's all you need to do.
And then from those who say that, we will draw a name.
Yes, we will.
And we will announce it on the podcast that drops on February 26th.
And we will mail it to you at our cost. We'll pick up that cost. Don't you worry about that.
We will?
Don't you worry
wait a
your
minute.
cute little head. Hey.
Hey, what?
Hey.
Oh.
It's in the budget.
Oh, right.
I've budgeted for postage. Don't you worry your sweet little head, Tipster. You put your name on our Facebook page that you want the coloring book, and we'll draw a name, and it's coming to you. So if you happen to hear in this episode what sounds like Mickey Dolenz backing me up on drums, it's pouring rain, and in Southern California we are really, we need this, but it's pouring. Like everything's kind of floody. Some roads are closed. Our girl dog Belladonna won't go pee even in her little raincoat that I got her that she hates almost as much as she hates
does
the
look
rain.
cute in it, though.
She looks adorable, but she also appears to want to tear my throat out when I put it on her. She's like, no. She keeps moving her head, and it's got a little hood.
It's got the hood. That's what makes it so cute.
The whole damn thing is the best, but because she hates the rain, and I thought she'll love this, and she's like, no.
And when I took her out this morning, I just had to walk out there with an umbrella so she would walk out. I had to walk out into the mud, and so she would go out there. And then she finally, after just kind of, just like, you can almost see she had gritted teeth. And then she peed for like a minute and a half, and the whole time looking at me like, fuck
I hate you.
I hate you. I'm going to get you for this. Sometime very soon, may I remind you, I have very big teeth.
And this is the person who constantly chastises me for anthropomorphizing our dogs. So I think she has all these emotions and feelings, and Mark's like, dogs don't think that way. Just, she's not even in that realm. So besides, it pouring rain and our dog won't pee, I'm very excited that February is Black History Month. And while I have not sent in my 23andMe sample yet that producer Mark gave me for Christmas, I can hardly wait for it to come back and tell me I'm Black. So I'm very excited about February.
It may not, darling. Because,
no, it will.
Because you are mostly Welsh.
Well, I firmly stand behind the fact that all of humanity originally came from sub-Saharan Africa. Well,
that's true, but
we're all Black.
Okay.
We're all Black. How about this? We're all different shades of Black. I may be on the lighter end of the Black scale.
You may be on the translucent side.
I may be on the translucent side of the Black scale, but I can hardly wait to get it back. I can't wait to see what sort of crazy mutt I am. Like all the dogs that we rescue, I love knowing my breed. I can't wait to find out what sort of weirdo I am. And you can fucking better believe I'm going to upload it to GEDmatch so that if there's any serial killers on my family, I can find them.
You just want Paul Holes to show up at our front door.
God damn it.
Yeah, I know. I know what's going on here.
It's like I can have no surprises from you. You've just figured it all out.
It's all right. I'll leave when he shows up, give you two a little bit of private time.
You're the sweetest thing. You are. He's retired now. I don't know if you know that. So
yeah,
he
but
probably
I bet
couldn't give a shit.
I'll bet you he's consulting with somebody.
Oh, he has, probably many show options with Oxygen. He signed up all over deal with Oxygen for books and TV and film and all kinds of things. I don't know. All the things I'm going to enjoy seeing his little face on.
Okay. Erase.
Hey.
Okay.
So producer Mark knows that this case has occupied my mind for an inordinately long period of time. And it surprisingly sort of came to a semi-conclusion recently. So this case is just, I say it all the time, layered like baklava. And when someone goes missing or someone is murdered, it is usually layered. Sometimes it's cut and dried, person X killed person Y over reason Z. And it's, sometimes we know clearly why someone has been killed or why someone went missing, and sometimes we don't. And this one is just such a case that I can't even get my head all wrapped around it. But so we're going to play a clip from a local news station where this event happened. This is from when his remains were found January 16th of this year, 2019, from KAMR TV in Amarillo. Can you hit that clip, producer Mark?
The remains of missing Canadian teen Thomas Brown have been found.
Thanks for joining us this evening. It's continuing coverage of our breaking news tonight. The 18-year-old was last seen November 2016. As we first reported earlier this evening, investigators from multiple different law enforcement agencies confirm his remains have been found. Private investigators confirmed the remains were Brown's through dental records. His family was notified this afternoon. He was last seen getting gas in Canadian back in 2016. It was on the eve of Thanksgiving. Human remains were found this past Wednesday near Lake Marvin, which is about 19 miles east of Canadian. Investigators confirmed the remains were that of Thomas Brown this afternoon.
Andy, we're continuing our team coverage of our breaking news tonight with KAMR Local 4's Kaylee Green. Let's go to her now live in Canadian. Kaylee, what's the mood there in Thomas's hometown?
Well, Jackie, the mood is solemn here tonight in Canadian as we learn more. The private investigators say Thomas Brown's remains were found by a person who heard the call from law enforcement to keep watch near Marvin Lake and did the right thing. Private investigators from Klein Investigations and Consulting have been working alongside the Attorney General of the state of Texas, Texas Rangers, and the Hemphill County Sheriff's Office since Thomas Brown's disappearance. Investigators say they are thankful to the citizens of Hemphill County for their support, and many have even used their own resources to help law enforcement during the search for Thomas. While forensic testing today confirms the remains found near Marvin Lake to be those of Thomas Brown, law enforcement officials say there are still several unknown factors. As the new phase of the investigation into what really happened to Thomas Brown begins, investigators are asking for anyone with information to come forward. They say if you see something, say something. Live in Canadian, Kaylee Green, KAMR Local 4 News. Andy and Jackie, back to you.
Kaylee, thank you. Now, Andy, as we were getting more information earlier this evening from law enforcement, I know you were able to speak with Thomas Brown's father. What did he have to say tonight?
Well, for the last 2 years, Kelly Brown believed that they would find his son alive after getting the news today just after 3. He says that because of his faith, he has peace. He shared several things, but wanted me to pass along a message to you tonight. He said, hug your kids and tell them you love them every chance you get.
Well, that's a great message from Kelly Brown, Tom Brown's father. Tom is, his middle name is after his dad, Thomas Kelly Brown. That is a great message. Hug your kids and tell them you love them every day, because you don't know when something that you can't predict might happen and they may not come home. I do have a small correction for the cute little blonde reporter from KAMR. The searcher who found Tom's remains was not heeding the call of law enforcement. She was heeding the call of Klein Investigations, the private investigator that Tom's mother, Penny Meek, had hired when she felt things were going a little south. And you may have noticed the number of law enforcement agencies involved in Tom's case. An 18-year-old boy that goes missing. Who has heard of the local county sheriff's department, the Texas Rangers, and the Attorney General's office, and a private investigator? Who's ever heard of all of those agencies being involved? And I think you'll understand why when we get into the story. So settle in, tipsters, because this one is just, it's layered. It's layered. So Tom Brown was off of school his senior year on Wednesday, November 23rd of 2016. And is there a more fun time when you're in school than your Thanksgiving weekend holiday? And he was one of those rare creatures. He had a lot of friends who were older. They had graduated a year ahead of him, including his girlfriend, and several really close friends that were older, and they were in town from college. And Tom was off school. Now, Tom, from the pictures, looks different than he was. He looks a little nerdy. In some pictures, he's wearing his glasses. I think when he played football, he had contacts in, or maybe just didn't wear his glasses. He has kind of crazy hair. For 2016, his hair was like a bad 70s Chad Everett dry look.
He didn't look like he was living in 2018.
He did not. He didn't.
2016. Yeah.
2016, right? And he's one of those kids that his picture, maybe he just didn't care. Maybe he's not like Instagram obsessed young persons who take only the best pictures using the most adorable filters. He just seemed like, he didn't care. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't vain, because he had interests that were so wide and so varied. He was such a fascinating kid. To me, it looks like if you look at his picture, you're like, oh God, some bully beat the shit out of him. I don't think so. He was the class president. He was a football player. He was on the football team. He was in the drama department and had gotten the lead in a play he was really excited about starting, in the spring. he was all over the place. His girlfriend was a year older and had gone off to college two hours away. He had visited her in the fall, and they had come to an amicable breakup about 10 days before he went missing. Kids that age can be very morose and mopey, and whatever happened between them, both of them seemed very sanguine and settled. It wasn't a lot of screaming, yelling, and crying, and I think it maybe came to a natural end because he was still in high school and she was in college. Maybe they talked about, picking it back up when he went to college, although he probably would not have gone to the same college as hers, but maybe not too far away. But he was like a very popular guy that when you looked at his picture, you're like, huh. But he was really kind of a stellar standout at his high school. So he and a couple of friends, a couple still in high school and a couple that had moved on to college, were planning on spending that evening, that Wednesday, the 23rd, before Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They were just going to do what they always did when they had time together, kind of a reunion. They'd get together, park their cars in one place and drive around town. So Canadian Texas is, and I'm going to say this, and I think you'll understand why. To me, it's the epitome of that hideous Vicki Lawrence song, "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia." Someone ends up dead. Someone blames someone else. Potentially law enforcement is involved, and nobody knows what the fuck's happening at the end of the song. It's a very small towns anywhere can be troublesome, and I grew up in a very small town myself. But this small town is scary. It's scary.
Do the judge and the town have bloodstains on their hands?
I think we're going to find out potentially everyone in town has bloodstains. It's nutter butter. So Canadian Texas has 2 stoplights, and they actually come into play because some local businesses have video set up to capture vehicles in those 2 goddamn stoplights. I don't want to make assumptions, but I believe that it's probably a very nice town. And I'm not saying you have to be like J.R. Ewing rich oil people to live there, but I think you might be upper middle class.
It could be. It's in just so people know. I looked it up right before we started here. It's in the Panhandle. That if you look at the state of Texas, it's the top part that looks like you can grab it and like the end of a pork chop or something. It's where Amarillo is located. It's kind of farmland. I think they drill oil up there, and I do think there are a lot of well-to-do people that live up there.
They do. You're right. It is an oil area, and it's about 100 miles from Amarillo. But when you're talking Texas, that's basically a stone's throw because it's such a big state. So the only reason I say that I think it's well-to-do is because of the amount of money and resources that have been used in Tom's case. And a lot of people couldn't afford what was done to find him. And it's very odd the way he was found. So even though he's a senior in high school, it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, he still has a midnight curfew, and he's never missed it. Now his mother, Penny, is a really amazing mom. And if any of us goes missing, we should ask Penny to be our mom because she will not lay the mantle down. She will cross the finish line, and she has, but she still has more work to do. And she will keep going until she finds out what happened to her son because she knows what was surmised about him is wrong. And they were very close. Thomas has an older brother, Tucker. Tucker was in college but was home for the weekend. Thomas's father and Penny had divorced. Kelly Brown and Penny had divorced when he was about 10, so about 8 years earlier, and she had remarried. And he was close to his stepfather. Stepfather was very involved in his life. He had 2 dads, but apparently a sensitive kid, and the divorce may have, caused him more trouble than his older brother, Tucker. But, they were typical brothers. They would fight and be friends and love playing video games together. And spend time together. And they were as close as Tom and his mother. You'll see as we go along. So a little before midnight, Penny texts her son, "Hey, are you almost home?" And he has never missed a midnight curfew. If he was going to be at all late, he would have texted his mother a few minutes before midnight. And she said in the past, when that had happened, the few times that had happened, he would say, "I'm downtown," which is apparently a mile from their home, "and I'm picking up a late night snack. Can I get you anything?" And he would typically be home within 60 to 90 seconds. So you can tell it's not far. Nothing is far in this town with 2 stoplights. And she texted him around midnight, and the text went through. It said delivered. When he didn't come home, she texted him at 12:30, and that was not delivered, showing her that his phone was potentially turned off. So she asked Tucker, his older brother, "Hey, can you text Tom and see if he answers you?" Didn't answer. She keeps trying, and there are no answers, and they're not delivered in the way the first one was around midnight. Around 2:00, she and Tucker split up and go to separate parts of the town to look for him because they think he's had an accident, which would make perfect sense. It's, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it's close to midnight, it's dark, So they spread out looking for him, can't find him. So they meet back at the house between 2 and 2:30 a.m. And Penny hates to wake up his friends, but needs to know where her son is. So she contacts the 3 friends that he was with. Caleb, and I'm not giving all their last names because it's easy to find them. I'm going to give Michael's last name because of an incident that happened the day after Thomas's remains are found, and his name is important for a reason. So Caleb, Michael, who was still in high school with Thomas. Caleb is in college now. Christian, who is actually a girl's name. She is also in college. And his brother Tucker. They split up, fan out, and look for him. Penny has called and said, is Tom with you? And no. Mm-mm. So that's when they all get together at Thomas's house and spread out. They can't find him anywhere. By 3 a.m., Thomas's mother, Penny, calls the sheriff's department. By 3:40, her older son, Tucker, and a sheriff's deputy named Pine Gregory are driving around looking for Thomas's SUV. Now, the reason 3:40 is an interesting time is that in this small town of Canadian, Texas, there is a business that has video, and Tucker and the sheriff's deputy are seen driving through the intersection mere moments following a red Dodge Durango SUV that is probably Thomas's. So they missed him, or they missed who was driving his SUV by mere minutes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And the reason we know it was a sheriff's deputy is that it's a black SUV, which there are a lot of them, but there is a glow in the front seat of the computer system that sheriff's deputies use. So there are 2 of these black SUVs with the glow showing up at, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, going back and forth through town looking for Thomas. And here's another reason why I say that they are probably come from an upscale community. At daybreak, Christian, the female friend, her father has a helicopter, and They take the helicopter up and look around town for the SUV. And around 8 a.m., they spot the SUV sort of sequestered under some tall trees and behind some shrubs about 19 miles from Canadian Texas in an area called Lake Marvin. Now, Trey, Christian's father, does not want Christian to see if something bad has happened. So he turns the helicopter around and looks out his window at the driver's side and can see no occupant in the SUV. But Christian is very convinced it's Thomas's SUV. So they call the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department's there pretty quickly, and a female deputy who is a friend of Penny Meek, who is Thomas's mother, and her son is in the same class as Thomas, senior in high school, literally is standing spread eagle. She got there before anyone else and is standing spread eagle in front of the SUV saying, "Don't touch it. Don't come near it. We don't know if this is a crime scene or not. And I'll be darned if the members of the sheriff's deputies department in Canadian Texas and Hemp Hill County push her out of the way and open the car and look through the SUV."
Oh, for God's sake.
So,
okay, well, we're off to a good start here.
When we talk about cases that are not handled correctly from minute one, this is one of them. Now, a little backstory. The man who is the sheriff, Nathan Lewis, was elected sheriff 6 months or so before Tom went missing. Now, a year and a half before Tom went missing, he was an officer in another jurisdiction, a town close to Canadian, but he was not a Canadian sheriff's deputy or police officer. He was in another jurisdiction. One night at the age of 16, Tom and some friends are walking around town in Canadian, and this officer at the time, Nathan Lewis, pulls up to them and says, what are you kids doing?" And they're like, "We're walking around town." And he said, "I saw you trying to open doors to see if businesses were open." And they're like, "Well, no, we weren't even close to doing that." He asks of the group of boys that Tom Brown get in his car. And Tom at first was like, "Well, why? Why would I get in your car? I haven't done anything wrong." And Nathan Lewis, whether he has a control issue or whether this is a personal beef, is furious. He convinces Tom to get in the car, and he calls Tom's stepdad, because he's friends with him, and says, "Your son is walking around town," and it was late at night, and the stepdad didn't answer the phone. So Nathan Lewis left a message. "Your son and a group of ne'er-do-wells are walking around town, trying to open business doors, and you need to keep a better watch on him." So he eventually lets Tom out of the car, and Tom and his friends split up and walk home. And the next morning, they get up, and his stepdad goes, "What was that phone call about?" And Tom says, "Oh, you mean that crazy cop? He got all of my friends together and yelled at us and said we were, up to no good and doing something wrong, and accused us of trying to open door handles of businesses, and we were just walking around town. We went to get a drink before this, Quick Mart closed at midnight or something, before he had to be home for his curfew." So the stepdad was like, "Yeah, okay, that's strange." Now, in the meantime, this is this night the lights went out in Georgia, small townness. Thomas's father, Kelly Brown, also knows Nathan Lewis.
Okay, so does the father live at home? Live somewhere else?
He does.
Okay.
When the father finds out that Nathan Lewis has called the stepdad saying, what's your son doing? He gets very angry and calls Nathan Lewis and says, if you have a problem with my son, call me. I'm his dad. I understand his mother and stepfather are, there and are his parents also, but I'm his dad. You know me better than you know his stepdad. And if you had a problem with him, you call me. He was apparently very chafed, and Nathan Lewis didn't really care. Cut to 6 months before Tom goes missing, Nathan Lewis is elected sheriff of Canadian Texas from another jurisdiction. Also noted, every other sheriff's deputy in that small town quit.
Oh, really?
Yep. Every other sheriff's deputy quit. They had to hire a whole new staff. Now, when I will be honest, this is just an opinion. When asked, why do you think that happened? Tom's mother, Penny Meek, says, I don't know for sure, but I think some of them had issues with Sheriff Nathan Lewis's control issues. He was very controlling. And I thought, well, no, that makes sense if a guy from another jurisdiction, is yelling at kids saying they're trying to open doors, forces one of them in his car and then calls their stepfather and says you need to keep a closer eye on him. When no law was broken, nothing was done. He just, had an inkling that the boys were, I don't know, stealing,
It's just, he's just an asshole.
There you go. That's probably what actually is. I'm not, yeah, okay. That's my opinion. He's probably just an asshole.
I share it.
So they find in Tom's abandoned SUV in an area that he would really not have been. It's an old water treatment plant. It's a drag. It's a sewage treatment plant. It's an old army. It's a gross thing that you don't. There's no reason to hang around there. I get it. It's Texas. It's a small town. You want places to hang as a kid. That's just not really. That's not one. So when Penny, who'd grown up there, went to high school, it was not fenced, and you could walk around near Lake Marvin. Nobody really did, but there was apparently a through road that, you could get to someplace else, and it was drivable. It has been fenced for decades. Ironically, as Tom's brother Tucker and Sheriff's Deputy Pine Gregory are driving around looking for him, out of the blue, Tom's brother Tucker notices that the gate, the very formidable gate around Lake Marvin, is open. It's never open, but this night that they're looking for his brother, it's open. And a few hours later, literally 2.5 hours later, his friend and her father find his SUV there, sequestered under a tree and some brush around Lake Marvin, that you shouldn't have been able to get to. You shouldn't have been able to get there because it's fenced and gated.
So somebody opened the gate.
Right? Who might have access?
Well, let me think.
Yeah.
Sheriff's Department?
Potentially. So going back, before we talk about the SUV and what was found there, Penny really had to take up the mantle and do her own investigation. And blessedly, in a small town, it can work for you and against you, but it worked for her in the fact that she is friends with many small store owners around. She got the video from the gas station that Tom had filled up his tank at 11:28. That charge appeared on her debit card. He had asked for her debit card and said, I'm almost out of gas and I'm a little low on money. Can I borrow your debit card? And she said, sure. So he used his mom's debit card at 11:28, filled up his gas tank, which I looked up, a Dodge Durango of the year that he has about a 25-gallon tank, and filled it up. It was $40-some. Now, back then in Canadian Texas, it was under $2 a gallon. So it was like $45. So he filled up his tank. Mostly, it was almost empty at 11:28 p.m. So he's seen on video, and it's about a mile from his house, this gas station, about a mile from his house. Around midnight, his cell phone pinged near the middle school parking lot. Now, he and his friends had parked their cars at a football stadium parking lot and gotten into one of the other friends' cars. So they had dropped him off at like 11, I believe there's a video from there, 11:24. And by 11:28, he's filling up his tank. And around midnight, now we know cell phone pings are not always 1,000% accurate, but pretty close. His cell phone pinged around midnight, around the time his mom was texting him, at the middle school parking lot. Like maybe he had gotten a message to meet someone there, or had already had plans to meet someone else there right around the time of his curfew. So that's a little odd.
Especially since he never missed a curfew.
Never missed a curfew. And if he was a few minutes late, he called to say, here's why I'm late. Can I pick you up? Something also.
Right, okay.
So when his car is found the following morning, it's only got 3/4 of a tank of gas. The Dodge Durango gets, 15 to 18 miles a gallon city driving, which means someone drove potentially 80 to 90 miles.
Yeah.
In his car between midnight and 8 a.m. when it was found. Now, it's not 100% clear, but there is video of his SUV or a very similar red Dodge Durango driving aimlessly through town back and forth between those stoplights and the videos that the small businesses pick up. Can't see who the driver is. Can't see if there's a passenger.
And this is after midnight, right?
Yep. All through the early morning hours, there's a red Dodge Durango going back and forth through Canadian Texas. And it ends up 19 miles away from where it started when it's eventually ditched. So there's 20 miles of the 80 to 90 miles. So where's the other 60 to 70 miles? Where did those go?
This is really creepy.
Yeah, that's a really good word, actually. Creepy. So when they get to the SUV, the sheriff's department, they find 3 fascinating things. They find a .25 caliber shell casing in the floorboard of the passenger seat. They find a small blood drop on the driver's side, which eventually turns out to be Thomas's blood. And they find his friend Michael Castleteen's mother's debit card on the floorboard of the passenger side. Now, according to everyone who knows Michael Castleteen, he loses his debit cards a lot. His mother has had to get them reissued. He's, typical teenager, I guess, maybe. So just remember the name Michael Castleteen. Michael is a senior with Tom. He's not one of the friends from college, but he's one of the friends that he had his reunion with the day before Thanksgiving.
So he's been in Thomas's car many times, probably lost his mother's debit card there before.
Could have lost it there before, but it was definitely there the night that Thomas went missing.
Okay.
They also find Thomas's iPhone 6 charger, but what is missing is his iPhone 6 and his backpack. In his backpack is a school-issued laptop and some other schoolwork. This comes into play later. So they find a .25 caliber shell casing. Thomas doesn't own a gun, is not a gun enthusiast. He has some friends who are. I do not know if any of the friends who are with him are. But a .25 caliber is usually called a pocket pistol. It's small, easy to conceal. But he didn't have a gun, didn't have an interest in gun, didn't know anything about guns. With all of that found in the SUV, it's returned to Thomas's mother, Penny, within 10 hours.
This is after the police have conducted their in quotes an investigation.
Yeah.
They got the car came back to the mom in 10 hours.
Yep. Had taken no fingerprints, and the sheriff, Nathan Lewis, had come to the conclusion that Thomas had either killed himself or had run away.
Killed himself, and then after he killed himself, he ditched his truck?
Well, that's a great question. Where does he kill himself and hide himself? Why, if you're going to run away or kill yourself, do you fill your tank with gas? Do you need, if you're going to run away, you take your SUV and your phone charger.
Right.
You wouldn't fill your tank. Maybe, he filled his tank with gas, was going to run away, and then changed his mind and killed himself and took his backpack and his phone.
It's stupid.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. So Penny is shocked from Jump Street. What's happening? What the fuck has happened here? And when her female deputy friend shows up on Friday, not as a deputy, but as a mother, shows up to her house on Friday after she has been given back his SUV, happy Thanksgiving, and says, look, I tried desperately to get them to not touch the car because I thought something odd had happened, not of Thomas's own hand. And they wouldn't listen to me, and they pushed past me and opened up the SUV. They did not take any fingerprints.
They didn't do any forensic work.
Right.
That's...
They did some because when Penny got the car back, there was no shell casing. There was no blood spot.
Okay, right. Then they did determine that the one little blood spot was Nathan's blood.
Thomas's blood.
I mean, Nathan.
Freudian slip.
Sorry, yes.
I just love that you solved it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Thomas's blood. And I don't know how long it took for that test to come back, but it couldn't have been within like five minutes. So the only other thing that they had noted, and I guess I'm not sure, maybe there's forensic specialists who listen to this and can tell me, but they had noticed that someone had urinated on the ground near the back driver's side. I don't know who's...
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating that you would leave your car charger in your car with your full tank of gas. Well, 3/4 of a tank now because someone's... Yeah. Okay. Let's just say it. Someone has driven around your car.
Well, yeah. Someone, maybe it was Thomas, but probably not.
Probably not. Yes, exactly. Why would you fill up your tank and leave your car charger? So Sheriff Nathan Lewis is sticking to his statement. Thomas has run away or killed himself. They don't take statements from any of his friends he spent time with that night. They do nothing.
I don't. Okay, it stinks already.
It's really the night the lights went out in Georgia smelly. You're right. So, almost 2 months later, January 17th of 2017, a road worker sees some items that he feels have been stashed or dumped behind some shrubs off of the road, and it's about 4 miles from Lake Marvin where the SUV is found. And he calls the sheriff's department immediately, and it's Thomas's backpack. And in it is his laptop and some schoolwork that's been there so long, it's almost molded. There are divots in the ground underneath the backpack saying that it's probably been there the entire 2 months. The backpack exterior is muddy and dirty. And it just looks like it's been there the entire 2 months. Now, Penny has had it up to here with not getting any help, not getting any answers, feeling abandoned by the sheriff's department, and knowing that her son didn't run away, didn't kill himself. She continues to text his phone. I love you, Thomas. If you can see this, hear this, get this, please know I love you. Please come home. Not long after the backpack is found, 5 miles further, Thomas's cell phone is found. And that's with a search that's organized by Klein Investigations. Now, Philip Klein has been hired by Penny Meek. Philip Klein is a really controversial private investigator. He gets results, as he really has done here, but he is also, you can get a whole lot of information online about his pros and cons. He is apparently extraordinarily helpful. He's from Nederland, Texas. Very helpful in working with parents and finding missing kids. Now, Thomas was 18 and really an adult, but we know he was a kid. He was a senior in high school. He was still a kid. And Philip Klein is so much more tenacious than any member of law enforcement that I've ever seen. And this is not knocking law enforcement, because I have the utmost respect for everyone in law enforcement, even Nathan Lewis, with whatever is going on in his world. I have respect for anyone who takes that oath and hopefully upholds it and doesn't do weird shit. So the laptop is school issued, and it basically yields no results other than his schoolwork. The information in the backpack is his schoolwork that's molded. And the young lady who finds his cell phone 5 miles further east of Lake Marvin says, I don't think this is Thomas's. It's an iPhone 6S, which is what he had, but it's rose gold.
That's a girl's phone.
Thank you. You know, my phone's rose gold.
That's how I know it's a girl's phone.
And Thomas's phone was gold. At the time, I think you could probably get like black, silver, gold, white, and rose gold. The 6S's. I had a 6S. And Thomas's was gold. So this was rose gold. It had no mud in the holes or ports for the connections. It had a small smear of dirt on the face of the phone. Even law enforcement said it appears someone wiped some dirt on it, just smeared dirt on it. Now, the phone found off the side of the road during a search. 3 months after, 2 to 3 months after Thomas went missing. In that time, they had 13.5 inches of rain.
Okay. I'm out.
Don't leave me yet, honey. Producer Mark.
Come on now.
Don't leave me yet. So this girl says, I don't think this is Thomas's phone. She turns it over immediately. Penny, Thomas's mother, is not allowed any access or information to the phone, to the backpack, which she was okay with that because the laptop was a school issued and she understood it had to go back there and they needed to be forensically checked, and it yielded nothing, and that was fine. But not getting his phone, and she does not have his phone to this day. She is allowed to see the phone. And the phone that is at the sheriff's department is gold.
Right.
She believes the sheriff's department has Tom's phone.
Okay.
But it's not the phone that was found.
Oh, wait a minute. So the phone that they have at the sheriff's department is gold. It's the right color of gold. It's not rose gold.
Nope.
So they may have had it all along?
I don't know why you say that. Yes.
Oh, my God. And they just planted somebody planted another one for someone to find.
Allegedly.
I am so... Okay.
Allegedly. So Penny Meeks is tenacious, to say the least. And this is an odd thing. When I say it's an upper middle class area, I think that's probably true. I know that Penny was an elementary school teacher. I know they don't make huge amounts of money, but I don't know where her money source comes from her second husband. I don't know, but she has enough money to employ Philip Klein for a year. And he has done more than law enforcement ever could. So a little more background. Caleb, who was his friend from, who was in college and was home that weekend. His father is a U.S. representative. Christian, the female friend also in college who was back for the holiday, her father has a helicopter. Michael Castletine, whose mom's debit card was found in the floorboard of Tom's car. His father, Jeff Castletine, is an elementary school teacher also. And the day after Thomas's remains were found, he committed suicide with a gunshot to the head.
What?
Yep.
So the husband of the woman whose debit card was found on the floorboard of Thomas's car killed himself the day after Thomas disappeared?
No, the day after Thomas's remains were found.
Oh, that just now.
Yeah, he killed himself on January 18th.
Just now, killed himself after the remains were found.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, January 17th, yeah. Left a note. Don't know what the note says.
Oh, they haven't released it.
Nope. They have not released anything. For a sheriff's department who says he ran away and killed himself or killed himself, they have released nothing. Philip Klein Investigations has filed, I forget what it's called.
The Freedom of Information
Thank
Act
you.
Requests.
Over
FOIA requests.
and over and over. So many times. That's why the Texas Rangers are involved. The Attorney General's office is involved. The Texas Rangers conducted interviews with the three friends, and they were ugly. They were ugly interviews.
In what way?
It's what you do to hardened criminals. It's not what you do to friends of a kid who is at this point was still missing.
Oh, so they treated them like suspects.
They surprised the two college-aged kids. Caleb, whose dad is a U.S. representative, was surprised at college. Christian, who, was also in college. Sage, his girlfriend, also in college, surprised them and showed up and said, I think it was Sage, was interviewed for 4 hours. They asked her if she would take a lie detector test, and she said, sure. And then they backed off.
Oh, for God's sake.
The same thing happened with Christian. Will you take a lie detector test? Of course. They don't do anything. Caleb, whose father is a U.S. representative, offered, I'll take a lie detector test. They stopped questioning him and left him alone.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So here's the correction to the sweet reporter from KAMR in Amarillo on Wednesday, January 16th of this year, 2019. A person who they will not reveal there we go. She heeded the call of Philip Klein Investigations, not law enforcement, who, by the way, has said, we have checked Lake Marvin with ground searches and lake sonar. He's not there. We've done ATV searches and dog searches, and he's not there.
This is what the police have said.
That's what law enforcement has said. Philip Klein has said since June of 2018, 7 months ago, he's in Lake Marvin. He's around Lake Marvin. He's in Lake Marvin. He's somewhere near there. He had done a 500-person search back then. They tried to break it up in quadrants. Apparently, we're talking a very large area, and it's, not easy terrain. Brushy, hilly, water, swampy, sewer treatment. And he has said the entire time, Lake Marvin, Lake Marvin, Lake Marvin. The entire time he has gone on record saying he is in Lake Marvin. I don't know if what happened to him happened there, but that's where the SUV was stashed, and that's where he will be found. And this person on Wednesday, January 16th, who has been looking at Philip Klein's behest, found the remains of Tom Brown. And he was identified through dental records.
Was this person just a private citizen that
Yes.
has been following the case?
Yes.
And just, okay.
Yes. That's probably why they're not revealing the person right now. Maybe the person doesn't want any sort of attention.
Well, I'm
or
sure, yeah.
Maybe the person is afraid that any kind of corrupt sheriff's deputy may kill them. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Mm-hmm.
So the following day, Jeff Castletine, Michael Castletine's father, shoots himself in the head.
Leaves a note that nobody will reveal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I am a person who sees things and thinks, wow, that's such an amazing coincidence. I can't believe I thought that thing and that thing popped up. I can't believe that person I was missing called me just as I was thinking of. I love that song I missed showed up on the radio. I don't think this is a coincidence. Friends, family members say Jeff Castletine battled depression. I'm going to go on record, and it bothers me to the tips of my fingers and the edge of my hair when someone does something bad or wrong or harms themselves or something, anything, an excuse like he battled depression. You know what? Can you name me one sentient human being who hasn't battled depression? ? It could be a temporary thing. It could be short-lived. You could drag yourself out of it. You could let yourself wallow in it. You could be grieving. You could be remembering. You could be fearing. I don't know anyone who hasn't battled depression. It really bothers me when people use mental health as an excuse for basically anything. If you're down and you want to stay down, that is okay. That's up to you. If you want to come back up and you can make it up, that's also okay and up to you. But I don't give two shits that Jeff Castletine battled depression and killed himself the day after Thomas's remains are found. What I do care about is if Jeff Castletine knew anything about Thomas's disappearance and, I'll just say, alleged murder, because we don't know how he died. I don't think it was at his own hand, but I'm not in law enforcement. And I battle depression. I don't know anyone who doesn't. I just can't anymore with the excuses. I can't. If you think you're alone, you're not. And if you battle depression, whatever helps you, please try and find that. It may take you a long search. It may take you many resources. You may feel there's nothing out there for you. But I'm telling you there is. And it's not suicide. That doesn't end anything. It just makes everyone else's life awful.
And here, if he knew something about the death of Thomas, it makes it even more horrendous.
Well, I can tell you, and I actually don't even want to say this because I don't want to cast aspersions on someone who's passed at their own hand in an ugly way. A man who has children, who was an elementary school teacher, who's been married for a long time, apparently a Sunday school teacher also. The rumors on the dark part of the web, the darker parts of the web, is that incriminating child sexual matter was found, and that's why he killed himself. I have absolutely no idea if that's true. Again, we're talking about a small town, very night the lights went out in Georgia, and everyone in that part of Texas probably has a theory as to what happened to Thomas. It will be interesting to see how this plays out, how the evidence lines up, if it ever does, if the number of law enforcement agencies can do checks and balances of each other and keep each other in line. If Philip Klein, who has a spotty reputation but fucking came through in this case, if he has more information that will come to light, because I can tell you Philip Klein made 3 very vocal statements to the high school, the Canadian high school that Thomas attended. 3 times the school administrators allowed him to make announcements and say, I believe someone in this high school knows what happened to Thomas. If you saw something, say something. If you know something, say something. If you heard something, say something. 3 times Philip Klein, who honestly, I don't care what you think of him. And I hope it doesn't come out that, sometimes I think the things that are written online, are people that are disgruntled for their own reasons. And I'm trying to keep an even hand here. I hope it doesn't come out that he's done things that they say, which is, have GoFundMe accounts to fund his investigations. And it's really, they're saying he uses the funds to ward off lawsuits. I don't know if that's true. The same way I don't know if it's true about Jeff Castletine's pornography fix. What I do know is that Philip Klein hasn't given up and is fighting as hard as he can for Penny Meek to find out what happened to her son. So I'm just going to align myself with Philip Klein and say, my beloved tipsters, if you know something, say something. If you heard something, say something. If you saw something, say something. And more cowbell.
And if you know something about this case or any other case, give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send Melissa an email to jttipsters@gmail.com.